So here we are 7 days later, like I said. Today is going to be the bulletproofing video. So the very first bulletproofing upgrade, as many 6.5 owners know, is the relocated PMD. You can't see mine because it's inside the cab. A lot of people put them here or on the side of the truck. So here we have my girlfriend's truck, completely stock 6.5, which I showed the photos of in, I don't know, one of my previous videos. And so here's the PMD. As you can see, that it's been relocated. The stock position on these here all the way down in the valley of the engine, under the intake and the lower intake plenum, or manifold, whatever you want to call it. And this here just keeps it away from the majority of the heat. Even though this one's like around the turbo, it's still a better place than what it is under there. Like I said, some people put them under the bumper, some people put them in the cab like me. It's really up to yourself, as long as it's not in that same place that it was. So the next upgrade is the stainless steel oil cooler lines. As you can see, that there's the cooler. I had to modify the bracket because the new cooler is actually upsized or upgraded, as Quadstar said, and looks right nice. These here lines made it up perfect with the cooler, and there's no leaks, unlike with my truck. The only problem is, I mean, like, look how much extra there is. Like, that's just ridiculous in my mind. You got to make sure that it doesn't hit the harmonic balancer, and you know, it's going to be grinding or rubbing up against some stuff, but as long as it's nothing like that, then you should be fine. So the reason why you upgrade the oil cooler lines, not so much as the oil cooler itself, is because the clips that are on the stock lines have just failed. They'll break, they'll pop off, and the lines will pop out. Your engine will spit it off as oil and seize-saw it before you can even shut it off. So the next bulletproofing upgrade is going to have to be the lift pump relay harness, or the bypass kit. Here's the relay for it. It takes direct power off of the stud in the fuse box, sends it straight to the lift pump, and then it also, like I said, bypasses the oil pressure switch, because all the power's, you know, through the stock version goes right through there, and it's just not, you know, it's just not capable of keeping up with all the voltage that runs through it to keep the lift pump firing. So with this here kit, that there will make sure that your oil pressure switch won't be giving out on you and shutting your truck off. And even if it does, then this here should still supply power to the lift pump and won't shut you down. So the next upgrade, So the next bulletproofing upgrade is the upgraded fan and clutch combo that you can buy on, I think, Quadstar and Heath Diesel and BD Diesel. Pretty well all that it is just has more CFM airflow, and the clutch kicks in at a lower temperature, so that way it'll run sooner and be able to keep your engine temp lower before it ends up climbing to a point that it's harder for it to cool it down. So this here bulletproofing upgrade is something that I haven't got around to yet, and that there's the billet crank pulley. So the billet crank pulley is a great upgrade when it comes to bulletproofing, because unlike the stock version, it doesn't have a rubber dampener, which usually separates from the metal components that it's attached to. You get the billet crank pulley, it just eliminates all those factors, and you'll never have to worry about it ever separating again. The fluid dampener harmonic balancer is a great upgrade over the stock set, over the stock balancer, because for one, it's balanced for higher RPMs, and Quadstar says themselves that this is pretty well the last one that you'll ever have to buy. If I'm not mistaken, that's what they got written under the description of the item. So for that there, it's a great bulletproofing upgrade. I know a lot of people that run them, and they got nothing bad to say about it. The flow cooler water pump is a great upgrade in the sense of it actually balances the flow between of the flow of coolant between the two heads. The stock one, I heard that it just favors one side over the other. The flow cooler addresses that problem and helps keep the engine cooler in, you know, in an equal kind of way, so that way one side's not hotter than the other, and you won't probably blow your head gasket on your turbo side over your non-turbo side, you know, with your average application. Another problem that is quite common along with the 6.5s is the starter bolts. Now, I know that they come with the starter bracket, and a lot of people I don't know if they overlook it or if their vehicles just don't come without it because someone replaced the starter and forgot to put on that their part or whatnot. But QuadStar sells the ARP starter bolt kit, and it also comes with the bracket. The bolts come loose on the bracket and on the starter as well, to the point that they're almost falling out, but yet it's still held up. And the problem is when it don't hold up, you can twist the bolts off inside the block, you can break the block, and that there's just no fun, no good. You'll spend yourself a lot of money for a $14-15 kind of fix that you can just, you know, install in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes. So the ARP starter bolts and bracket is something that's almost a must. Now this is kind of an in-between upgrade. You can get a little bit extra performance by using one of these, and that's because the stock ones are set at a certain boost, and they won't really let it go past it, probably unless you put more fuel on it. But this one here, you can just tighten up the bolt that's in there, and that'll hold more pressure back on the valve that's inside the turbo to help hold back more pressure, build up more boost. And on my particular truck, I got them completely shut, and that's completely fine because my drive pressure is so low. But with the stock turbos, you're going to want to look at somewhere around maybe 12-13 psi. You'll be able to tell that if you got a gauge. And what it really eliminates is the vacuum pump giving out, which is a very common problem with these here trucks. And it also defeats the factor where sometimes the vacuum lines that go to the wastegate giving out. So with all that there deleted, you won't really have to worry about this here ever giving out, unless it's maybe just a bolt come loose. Other than that that's the manual wastegate. The last bulletproofing upgrade that I'm gonna pretty well discuss here is that it's not really like a bulletproofing upgrade. It's just making sure that your engine don't grenade itself or melt itself. And what I'm referring to is the EGT gauge and the boost gauge. They're great to have because if you can tell how much boost pressure you got, if you know the drive pressure ratio, then you can, and you know the limits of the engine, then you can pretty well monitor it and make sure that you don't go past the point to blow head gaskets or even bust out connecting rods from the bottom of the base pan, stuff like that. And your EGT's more or less just there so you don't go past a certain point and probably melt your pistons or anything at all like that. Sometimes people put the transmission gauge as their third option, so that way they can monitor it. But so long as everything's in check, your engine temps and your transmission temps should be somewhere along the same, so that's not really a must in my eyes. I do have some more top 10 ideas that I will be posting at a later date. I'm going to give it up for now and move on to some other stuff that I think you guys are going to want to see a lot more than that. As for the basic knowledge is out there now. Y'all can motivate me a little bit to get my old truck back on the go by giving me a like. So sometime in the future, when I get my truck back on the go and when the snow probably clears up, I'll be doing a little bit of side-by-side performance comparison between these here trucks to see what kind of money you put into it and what you get out of it versus stock. And when I compare it to my truck, we'll see what all that money was really doing for me. Anyways, tomorrow or today is New Year's. I don't even know right now. I'm just gonna go have some beers like, you know, normal man does. I hope you all are too. Have one for me and I'll have one for you. And click that subscribe button. Makes the difference, as I always say. See you next time.
Let the band play.